Hello and welcome to High Caliber TV, your source for figure and model updates every Wednesday and Friday. So today I'm going to be talking about my gear setup, the sort of generic stuff that I use for every new figure build, and I guess for kits as well. Just, you know, whatever happens to come across the desk. This is the sort of stuff that I start the build off with. So I wanted to talk about this first off. Alan got this for me years ago, and if he hadn't bought it for me, I probably wouldn't have gotten it for myself. It's super useful, incredibly versatile. I think for most modelers this is just sort of a common piece of equipment, but it's really special because it has the corresponding numbers, values for referencing what drill bit this is, and then I think the one on the inside is a measurement. Anyway, one of them is a measurement, one of them is a value. And what I use this for mostly, you are probably going to want to start pinning, if not the limbs and the heads, either so that you can work with them on before you fix them in, like just so you have some play with them, or like I do, where you're pinning all the feet down, not only so that you can work with them beforehand, you've got something to hold on to that isn't the figure, but also so that when you do affix them to the base or the vehicle or whatever, you get a really strong connection. So what you do with these, this is pretty basic stuff, but you can find the corresponding hole. There's going to be one on, one on this side that's going to be just perfect, and then one on the other side of it that's going to be too small. You go perfect, and then there. And it should just slide in easily. It shouldn't be, there's going to be one that's like, oh, this is like a glove, but you want to give the drill hole enough space to allow glue in. So you don't want it to be airtight, So there's that. This thing's fantastic. If you ever come across them, pick one up. It'll last you the rest of your life. I mean, you can just replace the bits as they come along. And that goes with this basic hand drill. I mean, there's not much to say about it, really. I use this on every project now, to some degree. People use them to drill out barrels, make connections for handholds on the sides of vehicles. I did that with the Willys Jeep, where there were some injection handholds that weren't quite up to snuff, so I made my own out of brass, and just drilling the corresponding holes. For things like figures, drill corresponding holes in the cork cap, and then affix the feet in there. And what I'll be doing is, once the feet are affixed, I'll secure them down with a little bit of this. This is just blue tack. It's, for university students or anybody who works with whiteboards or cork boards, this is the stuff that you put posters up with. And you can get it anywhere, I think, basically. But get it and make use of it. You can reuse it sometimes. A lot of times with the projects I use it on, they take so long that it gets dried out, but who cares? You can get more. So these are fantastic as well. Get them at, out here we get them at Michael's. I don't know what the corresponding thing would be for America. I don't know if they have Michael's in America, but I think Hobby Lobby is sort of the analog. It's just like a giant craft conglomerate. And these things are fantastic because they've got the wider diameter at the base so that you can set them down, you can work with them, you can treat them like garbage, because they basically are from the get-go. And then if anything happens to it, you can toss it out and get a replacement. Fantastic stuff, really. Quite hard to come by in Vancouver, actually, because I think everybody sort of dawned on them that you can use these for basically everything. So yeah, great stuff. Next, a couple of different grades of sanding sticks. You've got the fine stuff used for polishing and refining what the hard stuff messed up. And this is the hard one that I use for every time there's a casting block, or when there's like the corresponding pin from a sprue for a kit. You can work it down with this really lightly and then go over it with the fine stuff. I also use steel files, but less so now because you have to clean those. With these you can just throw them away, so it's always nice. Crazy glue. I don't really use plastic cement anymore. Not just because I don't work with a lot of injection stuff, but also because there's just if you remember, testers for a while there did these fantastic little tubes. They were little hard bottles, and then they had a metal pin that came out. It was about that long, and the pin was adhered inside somehow, and you could use that and run it into gaps, or just, it was like a point, and you could put it in exactly where you wanted it to go. I haven't been able to find one where the pin didn't come out or collapse back into the bottle and then it's lost forever. You can't like open up the glue compartment. So basically that was my rant about bonders. But yeah, so Crazy Glue Gel. This stuff is fantastic. Other kinds of Crazy Glue are good too, but I find that they either adhere too quickly, are too runny, or the bottle itself hardens because air gets inside of it for whatever reason. This stuff is fantastic. It's got a fine enough point that you can do good work with it. It's got its own cap. You can twist that on. Couple of things. I've had a lot of questions about this, so I want to just mention you can use this because it has a good body, a good flow when it comes out of the tube. It's not too thin, so you can put it onto something, spread it, use it to fill gaps, have it like put on way too much between joints, like an arm connecting to a torso, put it on the joint there and then squeeze it together, and then the stuff will run out. Give it 15 minutes, come back to it with an X-Acto knife and a little file, and you can clear the stuff away. It's basically skipping the body fill step when that comes up. It also gives you a couple of seconds of play with the components, whereas regular Crazy Glue, the great thing about normal Crazy Glue is that it adheres instantly, and that can be great for some things, especially in conjunction with other bonders that take a long time. Running a little bit of Crazy Glue around the edge of something where you've got a slow curing bonder just to help it adhere while it dries is great. This stuff, on the other hand, is fantastic because it gives you a chance to set things in place, especially when you've got like, there's a lot of times with figures where you'll have two hands working in conjunction but being separate from each other, and you need to be able to twist them into place and then work them together, if that makes sense. And it's at times like that when you need something that's going to give you a couple of seconds of leeway. So yeah, this stuff is fantastic. If you can find it, get a couple of tubes, because out in Vancouver, like with the cork caps, this is hard to come by. I don't know why. Anyway, so now we're going to move on to the quick unboxing for a couple of these figures. So these are the figures that I'm working with for the Willys Jeep diorama that I've been showing. And the Willys Jeep and the base are basically done now, aside from oils and final pigments. So what I made myself do on this project was finish the vehicle and the base before I started the figures, because knowing me, I'd get so excited and bogged down with how the figures are coming out that I completely forget and lose interest in doing the vehicle or the base or whatever. And this time, since those things are complete, I can just go wild on the figures and spend lots of time on them and work out how they're going to come out. So yeah, we've got some of the latest Alpine stuff, some older fantastic Alpine figures here. I've always wanted to have an excuse to do this guy because he's just too cool for school. But we've also got mini soldiers thrown into the mix. This guy's fantastic. I didn't realize how much I liked this figure until I was looking through the high caliber shelves, and I came across him. I don't know how historically relevant this is, but we can call it a mixed unit at rest or something like that in northwestern Europe. And let's just get down to it. Show what's great about this guy. So basically no casting blocks to remove except on his feet here, but those are really easy to take off. You can even just sand them down. What I'm going to do is score them away with a really sharp X-Acto blade and then finish by sanding. But the detail on this guy is so crisp, and his head corresponds really well. He's got some sort of like scarf thing underneath his tunic, and yeah, it allows there to be a really positive connection. Absolutely fantastic. He's got the regular GI equipment. M1 carbine, which for whatever reason I think is just the coolest weapon from, probably my favorite Allied weapon from the Second World War. Jury's still out on what my favorite Axis weapon is, but I think the M1 carbine is my favorite. Because of the different models, it was sort of a versatile weapon. But yeah, really excited about building these up. Now let's move on. Whatever, take one of the Alpine figures. Pop this guy open. Yeah, simplicity, absolutely fantastic. Casting and design from Alpine. Again, what casting blocks? I guess you've got to remove this little bit from his feet, but other than that, he's good to go already. So excited! I'm so excited. I haven't really had a chance to dig into these figures since I've been working so hard on the Jeep, but now that I'm looking at them, I'm just renewed and excited. After doing those Grenadiers, I knew I wanted to do another Second World War thing in 35th before I moved on to anything else. And yeah, so just fantastic. Let's do one more. These guys, who are some of the latest releases from Alpine, and they're just one thing. Alpine, you cannot dispute the fact that Alpine does outrest figures. Probably some of the best on the market. Well, easily some of the best on the market. Fantastic profiles, really great for just showcasing equipment and uniforms without, you know, corny action poses or things like that. Yeah, I'm really excited. Another thing, I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but Alpine's the hands have always been great, but these days they're just fantastic. Look at that. His individual fingers that are holding the cigarette are splayed out, but they're still like tight. That just boggles my mind since I'm not a sculptor. But yeah, very cool. Anyway.